Can we acknowledge that
I
I'm not on the
agree. I
side of
agree. I just believe some people
Wait,
believe we shouldn't do anything about Xinjiang because of
oh,
sovereignty. It's the same thing. Yes. It's like the same thing. It literally is.
okay. Look, I don't know anything about Xinjiang. You're a nerd, to be completely honest. Again, my question to you is a very specific question because you
A
like to
curd
pivot,
is a curd.
like an NBA player, but it's cool. I got my question written down.
Taking my jokes now.
Can we impact mask mandates on a societal level? You said no, and you brought up Pearl Harbor. I already debunked that
No.
example.
A curd
Why
is a
couldn't we,
curd.
You
as
know,
a society,
we
influence
could, but
mask
Trump
mandates?
failed to.
What? How is this? Wait, society and president are two different things. Okay,
No, it
society came
isn't.
together.
What does that even
Wait,
mean? What does
again,
that even mean? Did
absolutely, absolutely.
Trump lives in society? He
Let
affects
me
society.
let
We
me
live
let
in
me
a
finish. Let
society.
me
I
finish.
don't even know what that
Let me
means.
finish. Like
That's not what
indicative
this said. It
of
says
the
that
broad
Trump is the
knowledge.
true president. Do you think election inconsistencies equals Trump is the true president? This is
Wait,
literally the hyperbolic thing that you thought I couldn't find, and somehow I found it.
but wait, again, wait. This is from like either wait, this is from chat or something.
No, I found this myself.
Like just like 2 seconds of like
This is
Google
one
researching.
day old. This is completely up to date information.
No, I'm not saying it's like not like day old, but I'm saying like I don't trust a data you found like 5 seconds ago. I'm saying I'd have to
Now
research
it's no
more
longer.
about that to like
Just
actually.
look at it. I will sit here. Just
But
read it.
again, you'll sit here
I
while I
will.
read it.
If you want to sit here and
No,
read this, we can go through it. Or I could send you the article as well.
you
Or I
want
could
to.
send you any of the other polls. This is not even like this is like there's so much data on like the amount that this voter fraud, voter stolen, Dominion voting, all this nonsense has affected people's viewing of our elections. And I could have a wider conversation, but this is an actual different topic, about how that's dangerous for our democracy. But I'm just trying to use this to show the amount of influence Trump has. And so when we try to wave Trump out of the conversation, when it comes to like social norms and wearing masks, I don't think that's something
Yeah.
responsible we can do. I think he was a major reason while a lot of Americans don't wear masks.
Dylan. Okay. One, I think it's hilarious because you're strawmanning me even to this day. Okay. First, I never said Trump had a minimal effect on the society, especially after I made the
You tried to
statement
separate
that
Trump from
President.
society.
Now it's time for the more contentious topics. Do you want to talk about COVID?
Okay, yeah, sure. I know you wanted to continue the conversation from 2 Fridays ago.
Right. So my position is that right now the media is saying like, oh, it's all Republicans' fault. It's all conservatives' fault. It's all the big boss Trump's fault. Orange man bad. But I'd say, although it is some of like the Republicans definitely went along with some of what the Democrats were saying, I do think this is a big part of Democrats' fault. Specifically Cuomo locking up nursing homes in that situation. No one really talks about that, but specifically the lockdowns and how like effective they were, specifically how the left politicized masks. How do you feel about that? Like, do you disagree with anything I'm saying?
Um, I mean, I don't really know much about Chris Cuomo. Um, but when it comes to like politicization of masks, I think the left has been like the side that's been pretty aggressive on you should be wearing masks. Masks is the thing you should be wearing. And I think that is the correct position. I think if there was anyone who really I think like pushed against that narrative and made it a political issue, I would probably point towards the Trump administration. I mean the him
Yeah.
like talking about, oh, look how giant Joe
No.
Biden's mask is and mocking it. Somebody who, one of the first jobs of the president is to be a representative to the American people, a figurehead. And he was not really seen wearing a mask around. This was something that he didn't do. He purposefully didn't do it. We know he purposefully did not wear a mask in public for a very long period of time. Then he did, and then he stopped doing it again. And when there was like
Right.
a big
Yeah.
resurgence of anti-mask like activism, quote unquote, this wasn't something
Yeah.
that he pushed against. So I mean, I don't. What do you mean by the left politicizing masks?
Yeah, for sure. So two things there. One, I would argue that the Republicans actually said and pushed back when the government health officials were saying don't buy masks. Later, we find out they said don't buy masks because like the it was a hierarchy of who needed it first. But at the time, they just said like don't buy masks, and it was actually the conservatives. And I can point to you many Stephen Carter clips where he says wearing masks is actually good as long as you like don't touch your face. Now, specifically on the Trump thing. I do think Trump did make a little bit of mockery wearing masks. I really don't care about that. What I care about is the politicization of the mask.
Wait, so
Democrats
can
were
I just tell
trying
you I
to
don't give a
nag.
fuck about Stephen Crowder if you don't give a fuck about what the president of the United States did?
Again. Okay, so let me be clear. When I say Steven Crowder, I'm just saying the conservative population as a movement because we're talking about who politicized masks first. The conservative population as a movement were for masks when the government health officials were saying don't buy masks. Now, more particularly, when I mean the
Doesn't that just
politicization of
make
the
them look
masks, I feel like,
contrarian? That like originally it was like
well,
buy
wait,
masks, actually get masks, and then like when the government officials was like, okay, actually yeah, then it was like never mind, don't wear masks. Like like it feels like it was just a
again, I feel
contrarian
like,
position.
yeah, no, but two things here. One, it's actually, Fauci. It's actually been the health administrators. It's actually been the scientists who've been a little bit flip floppy on every issue. You can tell that they've like transitioned to every issue, and I don't blame them. The science has changed. But if you want to talk about who's been inconsistent, it's been the science. But more
Duh.
specifically on the second contention,
I mean, like, wait,
on the
that
second
literally
contention,
doesn't matter though. Okay, so the thing is, okay,
I
let's
didn't
say,
say it
wait,
didn't matter.
wait,
I
wait,
said
wait, wait,
it's
wait, cut
actually
sleeves, cut sleeves. Are you a round guy for
again.
Earth or a flat Earth guy? I just want to know.
But wait, again,
No,
I know
I'm asking.
what
I'm
point
just
you're
asking a
going to make.
question. Are you
I
like a flat
think,
Earth or a round Earth guy?
I think the Earth is spherical, but there's
Okay.
been some doubts.
Look,
No,
wait, wait,
I'm
wait.
just,
Look,
I'm just
look.
joking.
I'm just saying, like, science is kind of flip flop. Like, originally we were like, it's pretty flat. Now we're like, it's
Again, let
round.
me
Like, I don't
finish.
know. It
Let me
might be
finish.
spheric. Dude, it
Yeah,
might
yeah.
be a cube next week. Like, I don't really know, man.
Let me finish. What I'm saying is that yes, the science is flip flop, and again, I said literally in my next statement that I don't care, and I actually like it that scientists aren't as politicized as people saying it is, and they're admitting when they're wrong, when they're right. I actually like it when the science flip flops, but when you say
Okay.
like conservatives are the one who like flip flopped and changed positions, that's just not true.
That
Now
is
let me
true,
finish my
though.
point. The second
You
point
admitted it.
is when I'm talking about the politizations of mass, I'm talking that the Democrats and the leftists are the people who are tying the mass to Trump's presidency. If you're saying the mass or how effective Trump deals with COVID is going to directly tie into his presidency, of course conservatives are less likely to wear masks. And of course they're going to be more in favor of doing anything to try to get their president elected.
Okay, so
Do you
the
have
thing.
any concern of what I'm saying right now?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear a single thing you said at the end. What?
I'm saying, do you have any problems with what I'm saying right now? Like,
Yes, like basically all of it. So the thing is,
go ahead.
you open this up by saying conservatives flip flopped. That originally it was the conservatives who were fighting for the masks, right? That originally it was the like the scientists who were saying don't buy masks because of them carrying like prioritizing like who gets it first because healthcare professionals should be the ones that's getting the N95s originally because they're the ones who are going to be on the front lines.
Can I push
And
back? Can I push back?
then they well, you didn't even let me finish the sentence. Okay, pushback.
I
I
know, but this
no.
is a point. This is a point of like clarification.
Okay.
I've never said the conservatives were anti-mask. The conservatives have never been the masks are not effective, period, point blank. The conservatives have already been the party that's like, how effective are these masks? And trying to question whether the masks are the end all be all. Whether if you wear a mask, can you just violate social distancing, like what we see in the BLM protests? Like, can you violate these things? They're always the one who are questioning the effectiveness of the mask, not anti-mask. Go ahead.
Okay. No, well, I don't agree with that, but I'll just ignore it. Okay. So, back to what I was saying. Originally, you said that it was actually the conservatives like, well, excuse me, Mr. Scientist, they actually are effective. And then the scientists were like, actually, yeah, we were doing this because we cared about, by the way, please mute your Discord. We can hear every notification. Okay.
Me?
Yes.
I don't. If I mute my Discord, I'm muting you too, right?
Well, okay. The thing is, can you
I don't know.
please go into notifications and turn them off?
Okay, I know I'm a Zoomer, but I'm also a Boomer. So give me a sec. You can keep talking, and I'll
Okay.
try to do that.
Okay, so I know Rob North said he'd talk. I'm kidding. So the thing is, so they originally were that, and then the scientists were like, okay, actually, yes, masks are effective. And then all of a sudden, the president's like, I'm not gonna wear a mask on stage. And I mean, you can like bring up Stephen Crowder, like, oh, see, this is like proof that conservatives were questioning the narrative. But then I bring up the president of the United States, the most powerful person on the planet, like not wearing a mask or mocking other people for wearing masks and being told like,
Again,
Jesus Christ,
again,
okay, I'm just look, I don't care, I don't care, I don't care. Cut sleeve, cut sleeve, cut sleeves. I don't care. Okay, I'm
well,
gonna
then
finish.
why'd you make the point if you didn't?
Because I don't care about listening to you right now. Because I'm trying to talk. I've been trying to talk for the last 3 times. Do you just want to talk? Okay, I'm gonna go to the bathroom. Just say whatever the fuck you want to say, and then I'm gonna say what I want to say. Okay?
Wait,
Great.
I just want to go point by point. You guys are always saying like we Gish Gallop or like the Republicans Gish Gallop. I'm just trying to go point by point. Again, this is what you see. This is like the type of like political commentary now. I know he's like doing this for like the lulz, but it's kind of frustrating when I'm trying to go point by point, and he's trying to repeat multiple points. I just wanted to go by and this point of contention. If you just wanted to finish, he can say this is a part of a broader point, and I'll let him finish. But if you're trying to, like rapid fire multiple points, no, I'm not going to let you do that.
Okay, you done? Hello?
I never said anything.
Okay. Well, then I will talk then.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I don't think the idea that, well, the conservatives were originally pro-masks really, like, means much for me, when, if that was the case, they immediately flipped back over, right? They immediately flipped back over to, well, maybe masks, this mask cult, or all the conspiracy theories about masks actually being extremely damaging to health, and all these activists going into stores on like, I don't want to wear a mask while going into stores, or all the pushbacks on mask mandates, or all of the pushback, or the president of the United States being the figurehead not wearing a mask, and all these different things, that activism that pushed against the development of science, and the very clear cut science that is, if you wear a mask, it gives you a lower chance of spreading COVID to others. So for me, the politicization of masks got dangerous then, very dangerous, and it continued that way for a good 1 to 2 years. And so the idea that it was the left who politicized masks, when it's been the left who's, I would say, being more adherent to the science from the beginning, I don't really think that's a politicization of masks from the left, but more of just trying to follow the science and what the scientists are saying, which is the safest way to protect everybody.
Right. Are you done speaking?
Yes, I'm done speaking.
Okay. First, we can go where we like make all of our points and then we respond to all of our points. All you had to do was say that. You didn't have to get triggered and go.
Cut sleeves.
But second,
okay. Wait, no, cut sleeves. No, I get to talk now because you just
interrupted. My second point?
No, cut sleeves. The problem,
really?
cut sleeves. The problem is I let you interrupt like 3 times, right? And you kept interrupting like nearly every time I'd said anything. And so it was hard for me to just state anything. And so I was getting angry because I was just trying to talk. Cut sleeves. I was just trying to talk.
That's fine. That's fine. Okay, let's actually get to the points. Because that's what I care about. So 3 things. 1, you say the conservatives flip back over. Again, I'll respond to these. I've already debunked this in my opening statement when I said the conservatives were never anti-mask. They questioned the effectiveness of the mask. The conservatives, just like in global warming, most conservatives think like global warming exists, It's the
I've
percentage
heard
of
is a
how much
turd.
humans cause it, and it's the effectiveness and the impact of global warming. Will it actually kill us by 2014? Well, we've seen that that's a mistake. Will the mass actually, make these Republican states harmful? Well, we've seen that that's actually a mistake. The Republican Party has been questioning how effective these things are, and people take that, like you, I'm sorry to say, you guys take that as them being anti-mass, anti-global warming, when we're just questioning the effectiveness of these outcomes. Second, you said the science is clear cut. There is no science, like there is no clear cut science, especially when it comes
What?
to things that are 1 to 2 years old. Yeah, you specifically said clear cut science, and I quoted you right there. And it's like these things are never clear cut. The most like scientific body that I've heard was that mass decreased COVID by 2%. Now, if people would have known that from the start, you don't think policies would have been different? You don't think the securitization and the over securitization of masks, people saying, oh, I have a mask, that means I can like violate social distancing. You think that would have been, as projected if people only knew that like masks only decrease COVID by 2%? No, there is no clear cut science. Third, we go back to the question who politicized the mask. The Republicans never said that whether Trump does COVID successfully or unsuccessfully, or whether he wears a mask or not wear the mask, is dependent on the presidency of Trump. It was always the Democrats who said, okay, whether Trump wears a mask, doesn't wear the mask, whether he does right on COVID, whether he doesn't do right on COVID, that's what they're going to hinge their presidency on. So, of course, Republicans are eager or less eager to wear the mask.
Okay. So firstly, masks were widely like mocked by people like Matt Gaetz, Donald Trump, top Republicans. Mask mandates were fought by Republicans on the state and local level. It is much like the Koch brothers saying we don't believe global science. Like look, climate change, like it's a complicated issue. We're just fighting against government regulation and government in effect. Even if they pretend not to be, if you're the person consistently fighting against all legislation that would actually like help like mask mandates become a thing or encourage people to wear masks, and you're constantly like mocking masks and you're constantly like lambasting those who do wear masks. I mean, I have a picture up right now of Matt Gaetz on the Senate floor wearing a gas mask to mock the mask mandate that was in place for like people who were like working in government at the time. And here's another thing actually. Wait 1 second. I was just leaked something quick. Let me look at this. Not to mention the fact that I think the science is pretty clear. And I'm pretty sure the CDC says, I don't know where this 2% number you're coming from. It showed that exposure to potentially infectious aerosol decreased by about 95% when they wore tightly fitted masks. Other effective options to improve fit include a mask filter and nylon covering over mask. Then there's always also the question of double masking and other methods you can use. The idea that wearing a mask like only does 2%, or I guess maybe whatever mask you're doing, I don't know, maybe it's fishnet masks, but I think the science is clear on whether masks reduce COVID spread. That is clear. The question of how effective it is, is it a 50% to 60% to 95%, as the CDC graphic I have right now in front of my face is showing, that is probably unclear. But that could be true of, let's say, evolution, like evolutionary time frames when humans have evolved. Like we don't know the exact years for certain evolutionary cycles during human development, and we don't have the exact data for how damaging climate change is going to be, but we do know that it's going to be damaging to human development and going to cause migrant crises due to environmental catastrophes. The science on all of these are clear. The question of specifics is where the lines get blurry. But I haven't seen any real evidence suggesting otherwise or a counterance to the idea that masks reduce spread. And again, the Republicans have been the ones that have been fighting mask mandates and legislation since the beginning. So I think this idea that you've debunked the position, I think is a little jumping the gun.
Okay. Two things there. One, you say mask for mocks. One, I don't really care if people are making like a mockery of the mask. I do think Joe Biden does look funny with a mask and sunglasses. I really don't care if they're mocked. I care about the legislation part. We'll get to that later. on the like Trump wore masks multiple times during the stage. Like, I mean, I don't care if they're mocked. I just care about the legislation about part of it. And you said that they rebuked the legislation part. Yes, I agree, and I also rebuked the legislation part. I think lockdowns are a step over control. I think that's a step of tyranny. But
No one said
also,
anything about lockdowns.
okay, but you said mass
Mass
legislation,
mandates.
legislating mass. Yeah. My bad. I mistake. Not lockdowns. Yeah, mandatory mask mandates. Yeah, that's a little bit like a murky position. I could be swayed one way or another. But being anti-mask, like mandatory, like making mask mandatory, does that mean you do not acknowledge the effects of a mask? Just because we can all concede that masks are good and wearing them reduces your chances of getting COVID, but making masks mandatory is a step above over like government control. Do you understand what I'm saying? Which is like you
So
can be rejection of like you can reject the legislation, but you can still acknowledge the science. Do
that is possible, but in effect, the effect you have on legislation in the United States is effectively the same of an anti-masker, and much of the anti-mask mandate, like movements and activism, is extremely interlaced with anti-science, like conspiracy theories about masks. Gonna give you cancer, gonna give you this, gonna give you that. It's extremely unhealthy, or
again, uh, again, I don't care what individuals on TikTok
but
think
you gave me an
mass is gonna
individual
give
Steven
you
Crowder
COVID.
earlier, and then
Although, no, okay, Stephen
and
Crowder
by
is
the
a
way,
man with a large
mocking of like
Oh wait,
social norms are really important.
well, wait, you're interrupting me now. Okay,
Well, I wasn't
I
fair.
use Stephen
Okay.
Crowder as a person who has a large audience, a large platform. So of course he can be used as an indicative of the broader social conservative movement. Now, when you use individual TikTokers, that's different. They have no stance, and some of them are probably faking it for the views. Now, when you use an individual like Trump, I can acknowledge that. I can acknowledge that a lot of conservatives did like mock Max. I really don't care about that. What we're addressing is, can you be anti-legislation and still acknowledge science? Now, you say that like, oh, you're still on the side of the anti-maskers because you would agree with them on a certain legislation, but I probably agree with them on a lot of legislation. I agree with lower taxes. I agree with like kicking illegal immigrants out. I agree with like I can agree with legislation of anti-maskers and not be that silly and not be that crazy. Can we reach a point of consensus here?
I do believe that's possible, but I don't really think that.
Okay.
Yeah, it is possible to believe in science and also have bad positions.
No. Again, just because you're so what I'm trying to get you to concede is that you can be on the side of anti-maskers and agree. I mean, not on the side of anti-maskers.
No,
You
that's
can
better
agree
phrasing.
with their legislation, anti-maskers, legislation, and not acknowledge their craziness. You can acknowledge the science, and you can agree with the legislation. That does not mean you're as crazy as the anti-maskers, or does not mean that you're on the side of anti-maskers, right?
Well, I would actually almost consider you worse than the anti-maskers because at least they have a reason for their delusionary policy positions.
Wait, Dylan. Okay, what I'm saying is not even. I don't know how you can concede this.
Because
Are
if I
you
believe
like a
climate
tanky?
change
Oh,
is
wait,
a
wait.
real thing
Again,
coming, and my position is fuck it, we shouldn't do anything about it. I think that's worse than a climate change denier.
no, Dylan.
A
Dylan.
curd is a
Okay,
curd.
let me reset here. Let me try a different tactic. Okay, I can acknowledge the science of masks, and I can agree with the legislation of anti-maskers. That does not make me
A curd
crazy
is a
or
curd.
crazier than anti-maskers. You can acknowledge that tankies exist. You can acknowledge that people like Mel exist. But when it comes to social safety nets, you guys would probably agree. Now you're agreeing with a tanky on legislation. Does that
That's
make
not
you
the
on the side
same.
of
That's
tankies?
not the same. It would have to be a position like, for example, I it would have to be something related to the actual issue. For example, let's say that Mel believes there's no genocide going on in Xinjiang and everything seems fine in Xinjiang, or at least that's the narrative that she constantly pushes, even if she lies about it. and let's say that I didn't believe that nothing was happening in Xinjiang, right? But I believed basically that the United States should do nothing and the world should do nothing. That would be basically the
Again,
position. That would be the position in this case.
okay, again,
And I do think there's
even if
something
it's
uniquely
tangent,
bad about knowing that there's something going on or knowing that action needs to be taken and not taking action.
Dylan, I don't think you want to die on this hill. Even if the legislation is tangentially related to their craziness, you can acknowledge the science and you can agree with them on this legislation for different reasons. They probably oppose a mask mandate because they think masks are harmful. I oppose a mask mandate because of government tyranny.
Yeah, and I would oppose doing
Do you
anything
acknowledge
about
this?
the genocide in Xinjiang because, like,
I
I believe
I
in
don't
sovereignty of the Chinese state.
Dylan,
See, like you
Dylan,
can.
acknowledge the fact. Well, wait. Okay, we cannot go further if you keep pivoting to another point.
Well, no, it's a
Acknowledge the fact that
comparison. No, it's a comparison that makes you uncomfortable.
Let me finish. Let me finish. Acknowledge the fact that I can side with the legislation that is tangentially related to their craziness. Acknowledge the science, but we can agree with legislation for two different reasons. Can you acknowledge that?
I
I'm not on the
agree. I
side of
agree. I just believe some people believe we shouldn't do anything about Xinjiang because of sovereignty. It's the same thing. Yes. It's like the same thing. It literally is.
Okay. Look, I don't know anything about Xinjiang. You're a nerd, to be completely honest. But okay, I'm glad that you agree that your comparison to anti-maskers was, not, proof that I'm on the side of anti-maskers.
Well, no, you are on their side. You are on their side. You just don't agree with their complete nonsense. For example, wait. This happens all the time. Look, I don't disagree with Rand Paul on literally everything. I agree that we should stop funding or supporting the Saudi war effort in Yemen. I am on the side of Rand Paul when it comes to that issue. I am on the side of libertarians when it comes to the issue of Yemen.
Okay. In that scenario, okay, I can concede it. I thought so when you say the phrase "I'm on the side with anti-maskers," you make me, and you deliberately say I was more crazy than an anti-masker because
I think you're a certain type of crazy, not the same type of crazy.
You said more crazy.
Yeah, in a certain way, I think in a certain way you are more crazy because you acknowledge the science yet still reject the obvious solution.
I rejected for a different solution. I rejected for a different reason. Okay, for example, we can acknowledge that helmets keep bikers safe. I would be opposed to a legislation by the government to federally mandate that bikers wear helmets.
But that's the thing. That is crazy to me. Because there's an obvious solution. Like for example, wait. If somebody walks up to me, like I acknowledge 2 + 2 equals. I acknowledge that 2 + 2 equals 4, but I refuse to accept 4 as the solution to this problem. Like that's more crazy than to me than if someone was to say 2 + 2 equals 75.
Wait, is Dylan Burns in favor of a mandatory helmet registration for bikers?
Yes, that is already legal. That is already a law in my state. Yes.
Okay, but that's a state-by-state like I can get click it or ticket.
Yes, I believe in that. I believe every biker should have to wear a helmet. Yes, I believe it should be enforced with ticketing.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's just crazy, insane territory to me. You're saying specifically that like just because something's good, you're going to give the government the power to legislate it. Well, let me ask you one more question,
yes.
And we can off this. Would you be in favor of like everyone being mandated to like exercise for an hour if it like proves positive side effects?
I don't really see how it's enforceable, so no. But I do see how like a helmet thing could be enforceable.
No, it's completely enforceable. Would you be in favor of that?
Maybe I'd have to look at the science.
Yeah, I think that's totalitarian, authoritarian, like completely off the walls crazy. I would never in a million years think of a mandatory exercise.
I literally am saying I don't know enough about it to really give you like an answer, but the thing with helmets is
No, I just think you're
What do you
crazy
think
on
about
this point.
seatbelts?
But this is a of
What do
a
you think about
sub point.
seatbelts?
I I can acknowledge the science of seatbelts,
So, but
but
do you
when it
believe
comes to
that
like
anybody who voted in favor of pro seatbelt legislation is a totalitarian?
I don't think seatbelts are politicized.
Well,
So
they
no.
were politicized. You just were not born when they were.
Well, I want to know the state of the political climate in there,
They
so I
were
couldn't say.
100%
But at this point,
politicized. It was seen as like the government overreaching into the cars of.
You asked me a question. You asked me a question, and let me answer. Dang. Okay. So I was not born at that time, so I couldn't tell you the political climate of seatbelts. But right now, it does not seem political. Now, in the past, it could have been political. I would doubt it's as political as mass. So I'm gonna have to say I really don't care about like seatbelt mandates.
But then you like,
Okay.
you seem so like surprised at
But
the
this
idea
is
of me
a
being pro a helmet, like pro helmet
But
legislation.
this is like a sub point. Can we hop back onto the main point?
Sure, buddy. We can hop back to the main point.
Yeah. Okay. So the main point is that when we acknowledge legislation that is on the side of crazies, we have to acknowledge why. Because legislation, even though you can follow the track that 2 + 2 = 4, and that, masks help COVID, and we have a problem with COVID, so we should enforce masks. If we give the government that power, there might be new problems that arise. Can you acknowledge that?
The idea that if we give government the authority to make people wear masks, there might be new problems that arise.
Yeah. Can you acknowledge that that's a possibility? You don't have to agree with me.
I mean, I guess what would be the problem?
I'm just trying to extend, yeah, okay. I'm just trying to extend like Auburn, just like government overreach
Also,
of like any
Maryland.
kind of
Well, let me just say this. I just want to make sure. Maryland helmet laws while on a motorcycle require all riders to have an approved helmet, as stated in Section 21-1306 of the Transportation Article of MD Code. Furthermore, motorcyclists are also required to wear eye protection unless their motorcycles has an approved windshield. So not only do you have to wear helmets in the state of Maryland, you also need to wear goggles.
Like these are for motorcycles that aren't politicized. Can we get back to the main point?
Wait, what do you mean? What? Okay, whatever. Okay, yeah, sure, whatever.
Hold on. I'm saying there are possible problems that can happen with government overreach, and you just acknowledged that, right? So I'm not
sure, yeah.
Okay. Okay. So do you still uphold the statement that I'm crazier than an anti-masker for thinking that there can be some problems that arise with the government from giving them this overreach?
I mean, yeah. Because the thing is,
Okay,
wait. Let me watch this. Let's say that I needed to take a walk, right? And the solution to my issue was obviously like I just needed to touch grass, right? But I said, hey, there's a possibility that if I walk out the door, a plane will ram into my face and kill me immediately. It's possible. We're near an airport. LAX is like just a few miles away. It is physically possible that could happen. Now that's different than somebody saying, I don't want to walk outside because if I do, I'll evaporate immediately, which is not possible. I do find the person who has somehow maneuvered themselves into this extremely unlikely scenario to be a little bit more crazy than just the person who believes a conspiracy theory. Because it shows to me they have the full functional capabilities of their brains, but yet see the obvious solution to the problem and still deny it based off of something that's not really going to actually happen. Because what's the authority? What's this dictatorial thing the government's going to do with the power to put in a mask mandate?
Yeah, like we were talking about masks, and then you look, we're like talking about planes now. Your analogy doesn't make sense.
No, it was an analogy. Oh my god. Okay, whatever.
Your analogy doesn't make sense because the chances of me walking in a plane like crashing and like falling on my head has never happened before. Has like never happened to anybody in like history that I've known.
I agree.
But like government over.
Neither has mask mandates been used to abuse government power. But
I think government legislation has been used to abuse like
And
government power
planes have
and
been
more
used to
government
like
overreach.
crash into twin towers, so planes can't do damage.
Again, I don't know. Like this analogy doesn't make sense. I don't think this is the hill you want down. Let's just focus on the actual point. The point is, you asked me a very direct question: how can mask mandates enforce the slippery slope? Right?
I mean, sure. Well, what's gonna happen?
Right. So essentially, the government's going to be way more comfortable with one calling things emergencies before they're actually emergencies. Because one of the things the left did was bag on Trump for not calling this an emergency sooner. Which I agree in hindsight it would have been good, but also isn't it really weird that the Democrats were saying like, oh, you should have called this an emergency. You should have called this an emergency. But like at that time when COVID cases were in America, I did not see a single Democrat call this an emergency. That's just a side point to keep in your head. Let's actually focus on the main points. The next one is the government will be more comfortable of controlling the political climate in the case of an emergency. So they'll be more comfortable with doing unilateral action instead of emergency. Do you acknowledge these?
Okay, so these are a lot of leading questions. So I'm gonna smash the system here. Okay, so
Well, wait.
number
You can't answer
one.
it directly,
Wait,
but I can.
no. You can't like pivot like where I'm gonna say this thing that you cannot respond to. I'm gonna say this thing that you cannot respond to. Here's a
Okay,
question:
if
yes
you
or
want to
no.
respond to it, that's
Continue on
fine.
the path. Okay, let me put it this way. Okay, well the thing is, if I asked you, like for example, let's say I said, cut sleeves. You have kicked multiple babies. You have kicked them all. Anyway, is your favorite color blue? Yes or no? Like
I
you would
didn't
be like,
beg
wait, I
any
want to
premise
respond to
into
that
the
earlier thing. That wait a second, I gotta right.
Sure, sure, sure. If you want to respond, yeah. I think it
Okay,
would be a little unfair if I say you can't respond. You can.
okay. So first, I want to say that it was an emergency. I'm glad that you acknowledge in hindsight that it should have been declared an emergency. When you have over 600 to 700,000 dead Americans, economic collapse, and a healthcare system that was not ready to deal with the pressure of what this pandemic did. When I mean I interned in like healthcare workers unions. I've seen firsthand the effect of COVID on being able to get medical service, and it is disastrous. And that to me is an emergency. Now you can say that like, hey, I would hate to give the government power to declare an emergency when it isn't one, so they have emergency powers. Okay, great. But I think that's a weird thing to complain about when you also acknowledge that this was something that should have been declared an emergency. That doesn't make sense to me. It'd be like a meteor heading towards America, gonna kill 300 million Americans. It's the worst crisis America's ever faced. And then Cutsleeve stands up and says, "Wait a moment. Now, very obviously, this is an emergency. But remember, people, what if we declared an emergency when it wasn't an emergency? Then we could give the government too much power." That might be a good
Right.
thing to
Okay.
declare if it was a fake meteor, but if it's a real meteor, it doesn't make sense to be declaring that now. And Eris, thank you so much for the raid of 251 people. I
Right.
appreciate it deeply. So that's why I don't get that. Like, you acknowledge that it was an emergency. You acknowledge that it should have been declared an emergency. So I don't understand, like, the fear. Like, what's the fear then?
Yeah. Well, I already. Okay. So let me try to, basically summarize your point. You're saying that there's an obvious solution and there's an obvious emergency, and there's precautions to this obvious solution. And if you use like Hamlin's razor, the obvious solution is a most likely solution. You can see that A to B leads directly to C. Now, the fact that you would say C has some like unforeseen problems that probabilistically aren't going to happen anytime soon would be kind of insane to me. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, because I don't see how a mask mandate or any of these like mask rules or mask encouragement, because that's another thing, the downplaying of like the need for like masks is actually I think a problem. I think it's why it's like now a cultural divided thing between Republicans and Democrats on just wearing masks, right? Even if you take away
Yeah.
because I
But
think like
okay.
it's weird because I would have thought actually Republicans, I legitimately thought that Republicans were going to wear masks at a higher rate than Democrats because Republicans care a lot about like personal responsibility, and I just haven't seen. Yeah, but
Wait, this is
yeah,
a new point. This is a new point.
yeah, this is a new point.
This is
It's
a
a
new
separate
point.
point.
Okay. Okay. So let me address this. Okay. So I'm gonna make some. Okay. So if you acknowledge that that is a correct position, that I stated your position completely correct, right?
Yeah, like why would I panic if
Cool.
this is a very unlikely scenario that
Yeah.
I just don't see happening? Yes.
Right. Okay. So we can acknowledge probability and we can acknowledge like magnitude. Okay. We can say the the probability of like a government overthrowing us just because of mass mandates is pretty low, right? But I'm saying it gives you one step closer to totalitarianism. Now, what I'm saying is the impact of government control is that the government never gives that power back. There's never been a time in history where the government has taken or ceded a political power and has given it back. Do you acknowledge that?
What about internment camps?
I can you like explain?
Japanese internment camps. Or what about like a lot of stuff like
Right.
powers the government has during war that they give up after the fact?
No, I'd say they don't give that up. And if we were ever to go to a war again, they'd probably still use their like hegemonic powers, and they have
Well, what about
more
World War
hegemonic
One? Like there
powers
was a
to
lot
try.
of times when the government took away a lot of free speech during World War One for people who were like anti-war, but then like obviously like while I still have a lot of problems with how free speech laws are done
Wait,
in this country, like a lot of
wait,
those were.
is that
Or what about after the
wait?
Cold
Can you
War when it
explain
came to like
Vietnam?
pro-communist like speech? Like after the Cold War,
Wait,
like the government like started to like
can you,
let up on.
wait, can you explain Vietnam? Wasn't Vietnam like an abuse of totalitarian,
Well,
which
that's
was
another one. What
like
about like the
led?
fact that the government's never used the draft since Vietnam again?
I'm saying if there was a fact that we needed to draft, they would use it almost immediately. This is a sub point of a sub point. Let's actually like talk about the main point. So I actually had what was I about to say? Yeah. So I actually have a solution to you, and we can extend the olive branch here, right? Can we say that like so you agree that there's a problem, and that A to B leads to C. You acknowledge that twice now. Okay, but what if A to B isn't the only solution that leads to C? What if B and C, or what if B and D leads to C, right? What I'm saying is there's other options and there's other like ways to deal with this problem. Say we have a mass problem. Why isn't the solution? I advocated for like socially uplifting masks, socially saying like these masks are good. And in that point, you are right. The conservatives did the worst job like enforcing that masks are good. But a solution is to societally enforce masks. This does not require the government at all. Do you agree that like these are like this solution is a solution, like a possible solution? Do you
If
agree
we
that?
had the social, I do agree that if, for example, there's certain things you don't need to make laws if there's already like such strict social norms that people do it anyway. For example, we don't need to make it a law that people don't need to walk around everywhere doing like handstands, right? Because everybody knows that like if everybody tried to walk around doing handstands, there'd be a lot more injuries. You'd get ran over probably more. You would not. So there's it's just a pointless law, right? You don't need to enforce it, right? But if out of nowhere there was like a growing
Okay,
movement of like we need to cross the street doing handstands and like for freedom, and then people like started like dying in higher numbers because people were doing handstands trying to cross intersections, then the government might need to be like, damn, actually this thing that we thought should have just been a social war norm might actually need to be a law because there's people who are stupid enough not to like just follow like basic reality.
let me finish. Let me finish. Or not. Let me finish. You did let me finish. So let me move on to like my explanation. The only difference between me and you is that I think we could have enforced masks socially in a better way. I don't think the Democrats' way of enforcing masks socially didn't work. We're going to get to that later. But I feel like we could have enforced masks socially. It did not require the government. Is I feel like that's a reasonable disagreement that two humans can have. Can I extend that all branch? Do you have to call me crazy for thinking that?
I are you just really offended by the fact that I think that like somebody like okay cut sleeves if it, I don't think you're crazy.
Yeah. Do you think it's a reasonable disagreement that you think the government had to get involved to mandate masks, and I think that this could have been societally enforced? Is
No,
that a reasonable
no,
disagreement?
I'm not willing to go that far.
Not a, well, wait. You don't think it's a reasonable? You don't think
No, I don't. I
society couldn't
don't.
have?
I don't think it is.
I think that's like a very reasonable take that a human could have. That like we could, in the time of a crisis, societally gather up and try to like not
Well,
politicize
no,
mass at
because the
all
problem
and
is
just
like maybe, but then the but then the president of the United States like refused to even like attempt to on multiple like 1 second.
Yeah, President of the United States aside, is it possible
Wait,
that
wait,
we
wait.
could have
President of he's the
in
president of the United States. We can't just kick him out of the conversation, pretend he doesn't exist.
wait, can I ask my question? Okay, President of the United States aside, do you think it's possible in this current climate that we could have societally enforced masks?
Maybe.
Again, dude. Okay.
Yes.
I
You
just
want me
want
to
to
just
acknowledge
say
this
yes? Yes. If we take out
I'm
all
trying
politics and
to,
all Republicans and all the
I
conspiracy
don't
theorists
say
and the
all
president,
politics.
then
Wait,
yes.
can I just say something?
Then yes.
I'm trying to make more like I'm trying to do all branches, and you're calling me crazy, and you're like getting up and walking
No, I'm
away,
I'm
and
trying
like
to
just
be
like
as I'm saying.
I'm
Look,
trying to. Man, I'm trying to do all branches, and I'm trying to see what we can agree at. I'm saying that we could have come together as a society and enforced this socially. This is what all the Democrats think, and this is their model. This is unity is where we have strength. Diversity is our strength. They're saying if we could have came together, we could have done this. And I'm just echoing that rhetoric. And you're just mad that it's coming from a conservative.
no,
You're just mad.
I'm mad because okay, if I said diversity is our strength, therefore I believe if we need to equally like consider like the position of not sticking my dick in a blender and sticking my dick in a blender. Like there's certain types of
How do you
diversity that I
even
like
make
and
that? You
certain
have
types of
not.
diversity
You have
that I
not
don't
touched
like.
on
And
that.
diversity that leans into the diversity of stupid ideas is not like an idea that I like, right? For example, and this is something I want to bring up because I know we keep trying to avoid it and tiptoe around it, but the fact that the president, who, by the way, his like obviously he has a big hold over a lot of Americans because 73% of the Republican Party believes the big lie, that the election possibly was stolen, even though there's no real evidence.
Wait, can we not? Can we not? Can we
No,
not?
wait,
Can we
what do you
not?
mean? Can we not? Can I not
Can we
bring
not
up the
put
fact that the
like
president of the United States had some things to say about masks that might have affected our ability to just make this a social norm?
Wait, my interpretation of that is that no one thinks that election is stolen. There have been some fraudulent ballots, and that we should do a recount. Not that like Biden
Yeah,
won
that's
or
also a
Trump won,
ridiculous
but
position.
again, but that's a different position than the way you
Okay,
stated.
let's look
And
this
again,
up.
I don't want to go down this
Election
path. Can we just make a
fraud polling. Let's look this up. Republicans. Let's do it. Let's do
Well,
this
wait,
then.
election fraud is. Well, wait, again, I can believe that there was election fraud and that the election wasn't stolen or that Trump's not the winner. Again, this is not my position, but this is the position that I've seen articulated. So when you say like people believe that the election was stolen, like that's two different things.
Okay,
Election fraud is not election
60%
being
of
stolen.
Republicans
But again,
believe.
I
Well,
don't
no,
want
no, you're just lying. 60% of
you said it was
Republicans. I have
30%.
the statistic. Let me say it. 60% of Republicans, and this is an old data. It's been updated to be about 70% now. 60% of Republicans believe Trump's claim that Biden win was due to widespread voter fraud, despite a lack of credible evidence. That is the big lie.
again, there are some problems with that. And this is why I didn't want to go down that rabbit hole. One, how many people that are Republican actually identify as Republican? I feel like there's a big portion of the audience that are like silent voters, is the way you call it, which is like, oh, I kind of identify with Republican, but the Republican Party right now is not acting the way it's supposed to. So I'm going to say like I'm a moderate or I'm a libertarian. Second, you said it was 70%, and now you're saying it's 60%. You said it's updated, but you haven't posted that updated. And third, election fraud does not mean the election. Third, the election fraud does not mean election was stolen. You can think that there's some discrepancies.
No, okay.
voting.
If I believe that voter fraud was the reason that I lost an election, what do you want to call that? And that even if you want to be like pedantic and say that, well, it was voter fraud, not stolen election, that's still a big lie because it's not true.
let's get back to COVID. Let's get back to COVID.
You just can't survive here, and I understand it. Okay, whatever. We'll just move back to make you feel more comfortable, okay?
Okay. Look, you take the dub on this, like, you take the dub
I'm
on
not
this, like,
trying to
stupid
take the
election fraud.
dub. I'm just trying to show you that Trump has a massive amount of influence. And so the idea that masks could have been enforced through social norms when we have President Trump saying shit like, my administration has a different approach. We have urged Americans to wear masks, and I emphasize that it is a patriotic thing to do. Maybe they're great. Maybe they're just good. Maybe they're not so good. Like, what the fuck does that even mean? That's like, oh, masks could be great. Oh, maybe masks are good. Maybe masks are shit. Like that.
Look at what the discussion has become. We were talking about masks, and then we pivoted to election.
Well, I pivoted to it to show that Trump has a massive influence with a voter base in a large section of the country, and that influence means that he had the ear of many Americans. So what he said and his administration said about masks, when it comes to cultural norms and what people believe about masks, is important, and we need to listen to it, and we need to understand it if we're having a conversation, which you want to do, which is this something that we didn't make through laws, but through social norms, which would have been great if we had consistent messaging from the White House.
Dude,
here's another one. The CDC is advising the use of non-medical cloth face covering as an additional voluntary public health measure, so it's voluntary. You don't have to do it. They suggest it for a period of time, but this is voluntary. I don't think I'm going to be doing it. The President of the United States saying that he does not think he's going to be wearing a mask.
Let me finish. This just proves my point. Everything you said proved my point. If we had this president,
can't wait to hear this,
demonic figure, who's trying to rally everyone against the mask, which I disagree with wholeheartedly, but let's assume that we have this president that is this demonic figure trying to rally everyone against the mask. That is even more reason for us to come together in unity and do things societally. If this guy is controlling the government, why would we want the government to enforce some of these things? We want to do this societally so that the next person who comes in and be that president doesn't have that power. This just proves my point. If we had a demonic person in power, this is even more reason to come together in unity.
Okay, so my response, no, I definitely don't agree. So the thing is, wait, okay, so this would be like saying we were just attacked at Pearl Harbor, and I understand that's terrible, that's bad, and we should probably respond, but what if we give it to a person who responds terribly and doesn't know how to lead us to a proper war? Therefore, let's not respond to Pearl Harbor. We need to respond to crises. We need presidents to lead us through times of crisis and death and destruction through safely, so we can save Americans' lives and come out the other side above water. We were going to need a president to do that, whether we like it or not. Trump failed. The solution would be replace that president to somebody who actually would be a figurehead. What we needed was just a figurehead, which is the most basic role of the president, just to look into a camera and give Americans knowledge, wear a mask. It's important. It's patriotic. Please do it. I will also be doing it. And then he puts on a mask. Stay frosty, America. That's all he needed to do. But he couldn't even do that.
This just proves my point again.
You can't saying that doesn't just make it magically true.
Well, wait, and then let me explain it. The difference between Pearl Harbor and a mask thing is that one, mask can be, so mask can be enforced socially, right? But Pearl Harbor, military, civilians can't gather up together to launch a nuke. We don't have access to nukes. Only government does, right?
Yeah, and only the president has the voice as loud enough to reach every corner of this.
Snap. Wait. Hey, yo, I'm about to get my charger. I'll be back real soon. Aftershock of Rob Noor wants us to, Rob Noor's channel. They're doing something Wednesday. They would like to see if you could come on there and we can just discuss any drama we've had. Let me get my charger real quick. You think about that, okay? Yeah. Let me explain it real quick. So Rob Noor is doing a 2v2 debate stream, and it's a debate drama stream. and we can just like debate any grievances we've had with each other. And they specifically asked me to ask you that. And I'm gonna go get my charger while you think about that, okay?
Okay. Debate drama stream. I don't think I have any drama with any of them. I just disagree with them all on everything. On Wednesday. Well, that's tomorrow. Wait, that's tomorrow.
All right.
So that's tomorrow, right? If
I feel like the dates are like malleable. We can like move it to a later date if you're comfortable with it.
So the idea would be me coming on to just like be like, this is what I hate about you, Rob.
Not this is what I hate about you, but just like hashing out all the like drama details. And I'll DM you some of the conversation topics later.
Okay.
Let me see. Yeah, it's literally on any topic ever, but yeah, tomorrow would be the best scenario. But just think about it. Don't. We'll DM you the like actual details later. Okay. Do you want to get back to our conversation? It's over.
What time is it? Oof. Okay, sure. We'll wrap it up in a little bit though.
Okay. So on this point, I want to make a very salient point. You bring up Pearl Harbor, right? Pearl Harbor. Hello? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm here. I hear. I just said good luck.
Right. Oh yeah. Pearl Harbor is a very different thing because Pearl Harbor can only require military action, right? And that comes from the government, okay? So the thing with COVID is it's societal. So it comes from people. People cannot launch a nuke on Pearl Harbor, but the government can launch a nuke on Pearl Harbor. So that proves my point. To say government action is only required when it's necessary. I
believe it was necessary though.
You've already conceded that there could be a world
when it comes to masks and only masks, then it would have been possible to make it have been a societal norm. But when it comes to economic stimulus, that would have been needed from the government. When it comes to PPE distribution and vaccine development, that would have been needed from the government. There's a lot of things that we responded to COVID that we weren't just going to be able to like do through charities and stuff.
We're not talking about economic stimulus. That's a different discussion.
Well, no, but wait. But the thing is, there's certain parts of wait. This is actually perfect because in Pearl Harbor, there's certain things we did need to do. Great example. We didn't need to lock up all the Japanese Americans and put them in internment camps. That was completely pointless. That was a completely pointless thing. So there are certain things you can do that is like too much. I think though, when it comes to mask mandate, that the president dropped the ball to the point, and other individuals dropped the ball to the point that we needed mask mandates because his messaging on it was so unclear that he didn't make it a social norm. Leadership is something that This is not
the question. You're dodging the question. You bring up Pearl Harbor, and I've already debunked that like Pearl Harbor is something that only the government can do. We can societally impact mandates. Again, my question to you is a very specific question because you like to pivot, like an NBA player, but it's cool. I got my question written down.
Taking my jokes.
Can we impact mask mandates on a societal level? You said no, and you brought up Pearl Harbor. I already debunked that example. Why couldn't we, as a society,
we could, but Trump failed to.
What? How is this? Wait, society and president are two different things.
No, society came together. What does that even mean? What does that even mean? Trump lives in society. He affects society. We live in a society. I don't even know what that means.
Let me finish. Dylan, dang. Okay, if we're gonna have this dialogue, you gotta let me finish, dude. Okay. So society and presidential are not the same, and actually, there have been some cases where they're opposed to each other. And there's actually been some cases where the president does unilateral action and the government does unilateral action that society comes together and disagrees with. So, for the main example, we can do the Vietnam War, where the president instituted a mandatory draft, and the societal people came together and tried to stop that. That just shows that the president of the United States, can do something that is opposed to society, and society can still come together and do something else. So what the president says does have an impact on society, but that does not bar society from coming together and seeing what they say fit. Okay?
Yeah, I think Americans were too stupid to reject what Trump said.
But again, that's not the question.
No, okay. The thing is, I think this idea that we can disregard what Trump said and the effect it had on the ground is ridiculous. He is the most powerful person, or was the most powerful person on the planet, with the biggest microphone. And the statements he was going to make about a global pandemic and how we respond to it was extremely important. And he dropped the ball. So maybe if Americans were smarter as a group, then maybe we could have come together and been like, what this man is saying is wrong. We all need to wear a mask in order to save lives. But we didn't. Instead, we cut through the middle. Some said, you know what, Trump has a good point. We don't have to wear a mask. You know, if you want to, sure, but I don't think I need to. And that's because that's the type of way he took it. It was very nonchalant, like, maybe you wear it, maybe you don't, whatever. I'm not going to wear it.
Again, Dylan, I think it's either, you're being disingenuous or you're just undermining,
I think you just want to put this in two separate boxes. Trump, no, you can't finish because I don't even, what are you trying to say? What are you?
Okay, I'm trying to say something. I can't say anything if you don't let me finish. Right now you're undermining my point because what you're saying is
your own words undermine your point.
President, no, Dylan, okay, can we not, try for slick zingers? Can we actually try to have a dialogue and an open discussion?
You just said I was an NBA player. You just said I was an NBA player. What do you mean? Don't try for zingers.
When is NBA player an insult? Okay, again,
you're pivoting away like an NBA player is suggesting that I'm dodging questions, don't want to answer anything. What do you? Come on, cut sleeves.
I said the president. Okay, again, let me finish my point. I said the president can be directly opposed. And I even said right next to the exact statement, I said the president can have great impact on society, but that does not bar society from coming together for more societal change. You already acknowledged that. Just because Trump does something, and even let's just fiat or let's just grant you that I disagree with what Trump did, which I don't. I do think Joe Biden looks silly in a mask and then his glasses, and I advocate for his right to say that. But even Trump can be directly opposed from society, but that does not bar society from coming together for more influential, societal impacts. And I've already granted you that, okay? So what stopped society from coming together and societally impacting mass changes? You have not given me anything. You've given me Pearl Harbor and the president, which
what is that even? I mean, it hypothetically could happen, but society failed to.
Okay. So the solution is. So you agree with my solution? That society should have came together to societally impact mass.
No, I don't, because I don't think it would have done it fast enough. I think Trump was too fast on the. We don't need to wear a mask. I'm not gonna wear a mask. I think he had too much. It's not hard to think that it is possible that we can overcome the biggest voices in media or the biggest voices in here or whatever the hell.
It did not require a government. You just agree with it. Don't unless you want to walk back your statement.
I also agree that if we had a giant meteor, maybe one man could get in the fucking basement and possibly build the weapon to destroy it and save everyone. But the odds of that happening are so low that I think we should be choosing other paths.
Again, this is a non sequitur. You just agreed that we could have come together societally and influenced mass changes. That's what I advocated for heavily. That's what I advocated for heavily. It did not require.
No, actually, you don't. You are Trump. Biden did look silly in a mask. We should be laughing at that. We should be laughing. I mean, what do you mean? What? I am so fucking blown away. This is I can't believe. No, I'm not gonna fucking stop. What do you mean stop?
then you're misrepresenting my position, and honestly, it's just either that's like kind of insulting when you strawman my position so badly. I said Biden does look silly in glasses and a mask, and I advocate for his right to say that, meaning he shouldn't have been canceled from Twitter. He shouldn't have been canceled at all. I advocate for his right. Especially like, of course, if I was a president, I wouldn't make fun of Biden, but I do advocate for the right for Trump to do it. I never said that it's okay.
Of course, Trump has the right to go on stage and say the Holocaust didn't happen. That doesn't mean he should do it. That's a bad thing to do. Why would you need to stand up and advocate for the right? No one was challenging his right to say he looks silly in a mask. People were saying he shouldn't have done it.
Can we get back to the main point? Okay. You
NBA
just
player
said two contradictions. And again, I think you agree with me at this point, and you're just like unreluctant to say it. You already conceded in this debate, and I can bring you the clip. Like you said, it could have been enforced societally.
It could have. We wouldn't have been able to. The odds were too low. It wasn't worth even trying. It wasn't worth even trying at this point. I think you're proving to me my thesis on Americans not being smart enough to do it.
Well, wait, so you think Americans are dumber than like when like 20 years ago in like the Vietnam War, or like 50 or
I think
whatever,
Americans, when it comes to public health and being a bunch of sheep to like what the hell anybody is going to say on like just follow the fucking leader when it comes to whatever the fuck Trump's going to say. Yes. Because there's a certain amount of Americans who are going to buy whatever the hell Trump says. And if Trump said tomorrow that masks are a plot by the fucking lizard people to make us all infertile, there'd be some Americans who believe it and just wouldn't wear masks.
For finding such quality content.
Again, but there's
peace all from Israel.
You know, there were like people in the past. You know, there were people in the past who believed in like the Illuminati, and like 9/11 was not too long ago. Like, okay, these conspiracy theories have like, and I think you're referring to QAnon. These things have always been a factor, okay? That doesn't mean Americans are dumber or smarter than they were 50 or how many years ago Vietnam was. And I can actually provide you data that IQ points have risen to the time of People are smarter now, and they're more capable of making political decisions. And I can provide you more data that people are more into politics now than they were that many years ago.
IQ, I don't think, is a good indicator on whether or not Americans are going to fall for whatever certain politicians say if they're against basis of reality. I don't even think IQ is the greatest like indicator of intelligence. Period.
I'm so curious because I hear this all the time. Why do you think we still use it then?
I don't really know. I don't know enough about it.
Oh, everyone. Yeah. Okay. So everyone who's wait. So IQ test. So you're Twitch streamer.
And we don't really, do we? Do we even still use it?
Yes, we do.
Who?
Okay. We approve.
Wait. When you say we do, what do you mean? Who uses it?
We still use IQ as like.
What do you mean we? We is who? Because me? I don't use IQ in anything I do. I don't like go around testing people's IQ before I talk to them about politics. What's your IQ?
Wait, what's my IQ? If I had to tell you, I'd have to kill you. Okay, no. Aside from the subpoints of the subpoints, again, I just think that Americans are smarter than they were how many years ago, that people are more involved in politics, good part because of Trump. People are more involved in politics. People are more involved in corruption. And I have no data to suggest otherwise. You have not provided me a single iota of data to prove otherwise. I don't know where you're coming from with like this.
Because I'm seeing large-scale Americans making decisions based off of conspiracy theory. What do you mean anecdote? I can give you data. I can give you the data on like the people who buy the big lie. And I did that. And you were like, oh, let's get the fuck away from this. Oh, God. Why would I at all trust?
Again, I already proven that.
Like, you didn't disprove that. You just said a bunch of bullshit. Then we moved on and said, let's talk about something else. What do you mean? You disproved that? So Americans, so the vast majority of Republicans do not believe the idea that widespread voter fraud changed the election's result to made Trump lose. Please tell me that. Please tell me you don't believe that reality.
Again, two things here. Let me get back to the conversational time. Okay.
Oh, we're moving back. We're moving back away from it. Okay, got it. Second time.
No. It's not. Let me directly address your point. One, I said I debunked the point that like just because that there are some conspiracy theories nowadays, like there's been conspiracy theories from the past like however years. Like how did Abraham Lincoln died, or whatever that president was. How did 9/11 happen? The Illuminati.
Occurred
Like,
is occurred.
big conspiracy theories are always inevitable. It's not a test to anyone's smartness or political awareness. Second, you think 70% of people, like 70% of Republicans, think the election was stolen. Election is not stolen. Election fraud is different from election being stolen. You'd have to believe that 70% of Republicans believe Trump won the election, not that there are some like infragilities of the election ballot. And I
That's just
actually
word
think that
salad. You're just repeating.
Well,
This is just word salad at
okay.
this point.
You think there's a difference between saying like the election was stolen and that there are like infragilities of like the election ballot, like they're like the way that ballots were processed were a little bit shady? Do you think that those two things are different?
I don't think that's what people are saying. I don't think when it says widespread voter fraud is
You
the
think
reason why.
average
I
Republican-
can read
Well,
you.
let me hear you right. Let me hear you right. Okay. I'm sorry I cut you off,
Man,
and I'll let you speak to
I
how
no
long you
longer
want to.
believe in the idea of youth voting in elections,
Again,
as in anyone under the age of 18.
I think we need to bump that up. Let's
Again.
go limit
Bump
the
it
age-
up to like 20 at least.
At least like the level that actually people actually vote. So like 72.
bro, you're 20,
72, I
Dylan.
agree. So I'm back.
You're 20, Dylan.
Yeah.
What are you even talking about? Okay. Again, so let me just ask you one question, okay? You believe the average Republican, because you said 70%, think that A, there are some like, election inconsistencies, or two, the election was stolen from the president. You think the average Republican believes that the election was stolen?
60% of Republicans believe Trump's claim that Biden's win was due to widespread voter fraud. There is no evidence to suggest that.
Okay, that's more along with what I'm saying. Like election.
Will you agree with me that that's incorrect?
Incorrect. I can never.
No.
I just haven't
Will you
looked into
agree
it.
with me
I'm
that it is incorrect that that's reality? That no, Biden won legitimately.
I'm saying I haven't looked into like the ballot.
You haven't
things,
looked. Okay.
So I couldn't say.
You couldn't say.
But again, you think okay. Again, I don't want to derail on this semantical difference. What I'll say on this subpoint of a subpoint is that I think election inconsistencies are different than saying someone stole the election and Trump was the rightful winner. And I don't think a survey is indicative of all of Republicans. I don't think
Just the majority.
I don't think this like survey is indicative of all Republicans.
What about the multiple other
again,
polls? I haven't seen a single poll that suggests that less than 50% of Republicans believe in the big lie. Like all of them suggest.
Okay, the absence of evidence is not evidence for your side. Okay?
What?
Especially when
This
you're
is
the one
just
doing the
this is you just trying to get
Again-
around the fact that the majority of Republicans are not in touch with reality.
Well, wait. Based on one survey that I haven't even looked at, I don't.
Why?
The
Then why the
absence of
fuck are you
evidence is
even
not-
debating if you haven't even looked at it? You could have
Well,
just
wait,
been like,
I said
send me the data. Instead, you started trying to poke holes in it.
But I'm saying even if it is true, there's a difference between election inconsistencies and someone stealing the election. I have not got like a yes or no of that. Do you think that those are two different things?
Not really in effect. Here's another
Not-
one. The Guardian.
I
Most
really
Republicans
don't-
still believe 2020 election was stolen from Trump. 53%. This is different. This is a different poll. But 53% of Republicans believe Trump is the true president compared to 3% of Democrats. So
Okay,
that's a
can you
totally
send me
different
that
poll.
one? That one seems like a little bit. Yeah. If you send me that one, I'll take a look because it does seem more along the lines of the claim that you're saying.
Here you go. It's from Ipsos.
Um,
Ipsos. No, this is a different poll, but it's. I mean, it didn't take me long to find this. This is voter fraud, and the idea that voter fraud made it so that Trump lost, or that it was big rigged, or all these conspiracy theories. It's like is now a mainstream belief in the Republican Party.
This is a subpoint of a subpoint. I don't think.
No,
other
I'm
people
not
believe that
saying
there was
this
some
is
election-
completely separate discussion.
Well,
But I'm
again,
saying this
let me
to
finish,
say
let me finish.
that it looks like that there's a lot of people that will just believe what Trump said because Trump said it. Therefore, his inability to lead on making people want to wear masks for like it's a patriotic duty meant it undermined the ability for us to ever have done this through social norms. Therefore, it didn't leave as many other options for me besides like going to other ways to make people wear masks, including mask mandates.
Look at we were talking about like masks, and now we're talking about like election, whether there were election inconsistencies. Look, okay, whether there were election inconsistencies or not, I don't think that is like,
that's not what this said. It says that Trump is the
broad-
true president. Do you think election inconsistencies equals Trump is the true president? This is literally the hyperbolic thing that you thought I couldn't find, and somehow I found it.
But wait. This is from like either this is from chat or something.
No, I found this myself.
Like just like 2 seconds of like.
This
Google
is
research?
1 day old. This is completely up to date information.
No, I'm not saying it's like not like day old, but I'm saying like I don't trust a data you found like 5 seconds ago. I'm saying I'd have to research
Now it's no
more
lo-
about that to like.
Just
actually-
look at it. I will sit here. Just read it.
You'll sit here
I
while I
will-
read it.
If you want to sit here and read this, we can go through it. Or I could send you the article as well. Or I could send you any of the other polls. This is not even like, this is like, there's so much data on like the amount that this voter fraud, voter stolen, Dominion voting, all this nonsense has affected people's viewing of our elections. And I could have a wider conversation, but this is an actual different topic, about how that's dangerous for our democracy. But I'm just trying to use this to show the amount of influence Trump has. And so when we try to wave Trump out of the conversation, when it comes to like social norms and wearing masks, I don't think that's something responsible we can do. I think he was a major reason while a lot of Americans don't wear masks.
Dylan, okay. One, I think it's hilarious because you're strawmanning me even to this day. Okay, first, I never said Trump had a minimal effect on the society, especially after I made the.
You tried to
statement
separate
that
Trump from society.
I'm saying in a hypothetical world, could we see if society could influence mask mandates? You said yes, and I said in this world, could we, can we in this world societally influence mask mandates? You said that there was a small possibility. Now, even then, I admitted that the president has a large influence of how society acts. My point was that the president can be incompatible with society, and society can still gather up to do something better. But even now, you're strawmanning.
But they didn't.
Saying like, oh,
They didn't. It failed here.
Yeah, and again, even now you're strawmanning me and saying like that Cutsley.
I just responded to what you said. I didn't just straw man you. I just said, oh my God. I just said my statement. How am I straw man you when I said my statement?
Wait. You literally said that my position. You literally said that I said that I'm minimizing Trump's impact on society. I have never once
You
minimized
tried to
Trump's
separate
impact on
Trump
society.
from society, and you're like, in many of the hypotheticals, you're like, okay, removing Trump from the situation. My argument is it is impossible to do so.
Can someone tally how many times like Dylan Burns interrupts me versus how many times I interrupt him? Because I'm trying to make one statement, okay? Again, now I haven't looked at I haven't read this data, so I can't allude or acknowledge the data until I've read it, okay? Now, what my statement was going to be is that whether there are election inconsistencies or whether someone believes that there are election inconsistencies isn't indicative to the broader intelligence that American society has had between the past years. Because as I've said, there's always been conspiracy theories. And wasn't there something about like Frank Gore Frank Gore is a football player, like Al Gore and like those elections being stolen or something? There's always been election inconsistencies. There's always been conspiracy theories. This is not indicative of how society has evolved.
Not on this scale. Not on this scale and in this manner, though. I don't think it's the same. I mean, of course, but the thing is, what I'm saying is that these conspiracy theories have had a real impact. Just like, for example, the Elders of Zion book back in the day, probably made by the Russian government, had an effect on how Jews were treated throughout Europe. We're seeing today how this voter fraud nonsense, conspiracy theories about how widespread voter fraud changed the outcome of the election, or Trump is the true president, is impacting voter fraud legislation all across the board on state levels. We've seen an extreme spike in the type of legislation. Does this have any real world impact? The same way that Trump's rhetoric around masks had a real world impact since people got in file line behind Trump to not wear masks. And that impacted our ability to just make this a societal norm instead of actually having the government need to get involved.
So two things. One, I've already acknowledged 3 times now. Now I've swore that society, like broader like president's actions could have an impact on like society. That is very true. And second, I've already acknowledged the impact of conspiracy theories. You're telling me I just found like a poll that says like 3% of the world or like 3% of America are like QAnoners. Like I know this. Like I know that like conspiracy theories can have an impact on how people vote. Like you're telling me, okay? But what I'm going to say about that is that there's like that is not like you cannot use this as evidence to say like Americans can't societally gather up and like enforce mask mandates, and you cannot say that like because like there's a lot of conspiracies going on in like the Vietnam War, right? I mean, there's always been conspiracies, but I feel like we're like talking in circles at this point. So I'm just gonna extend you an olive branch, and like, do you think that one, like conspiracy theories have always been around, and two, that even if the president is saying one thing, that does not bar society from coming together, even though it might influence it heavily, it does not bar society from coming together to a broader societal shift.
Okay, yes, conspiracy theories are existed. In chat, it is not my Discord, it is his Discord. Please stop asking me to mute it. I can't do shit. I can't do it.
I'm a boomer, so, but again, nothing the president does impacts what society does.
Nothing.
I mean,
wait, what? Did you just say nothing the president does impacts what society does?
No. I'm sorry, Zoomer brain rot. Yes, it does impact it, but it doesn't bar society from like. This isn't like you're right now. Okay, let me just be real for a second. Right now, it feels like you're like deferring to like Orange Man Bad as an excuse for society not doing something. You're like kind of like excusing society. Like 50 million years from now, when like global warming exists, you're the type of person to say like, oh, Orange Man Bad. So like that's why we didn't have like global warming action currently. Like I feel like you're using like Orange Man Bad as a way to excuse society.
Look, I know you want to extend the olive branch, but I'm about to extend the olive branch and put a noose around it. I swear to God, I can't do it for myself. Look, my thing is.
Wait, what? What did I say that was even contentious?
I'm sorry. I am just so unbelievably frustrated. Okay, in Minecraft, I'm just so unbelievably frustrated. Okay, I agree that.
Dylan, come on. Like I'm trying. I said like really reasonable stuff. I literally been the most reasonable thing, which is like I feel like you're.
You have been the really most reasonable thing. You know, I can't argue with that.
I know, like the last statement I made, the last statement I made did not warrant any like suicide joke. I feel like you're underplaying my point when you say that, and kind of like to be frank, you're poisoning the well a little bit.
Poisoning the well. I wish I poisoned the well because then maybe I wouldn't have to come. I'm sorry. Look, man. I don't think we're gonna find common ground, man. I'm sorry.
Can you just acknowledge? Wait. Acknowledge the point that I made.
Say it one more time. Just say it one more time for me.
Of course. You're gonna make suicide jokes after
suicide jokes. Can I just add what? I just want you to repeat it so I know. I don't look. I just want you to repeat it, okay? So say it more clearly, so I know I'm not agreeing to anything I don't think I want to be agreeing to. Okay? Is that too difficult to do?
No, I'm not objecting you asking me to repeat it. I'm objecting you of making like poisoning the well and like having these like suicide jokes when I'm trying to have a real dialogue. Like it feels like I'm. You started.
You did the NBA. Whatever. Okay.
Oh, okay. I made one NBA joke that.
But you can't be like, okay, I can make jokes and stuff. You can't make jokes, Dylan. That's not appropriate for you to make jokes. I can't. You can't make jokes, Dylan.
I make jokes. Wait, I make jokes as not like I make jokes and then respond to the point. You make jokes in order to pivot away from the point. Okay, that's the difference me and you.
No, the way
Okay,
you
now
pivot
let
is
me
not even you
respond. Let me
pivot. You're more just
respond.
like step. Like, because what I'll do is like I'll have an area and you're like, let's get back to the discussion. And that's how you get away from it. I look, if I make jokes to get away from it, at least I do it in a pretty manner that entertains people.
Let
Okay?
me, let me repeat what I said. Like all I'm trying to say is like if you have other conversations with people, it really does feel like I'm talking to you and you're trying to talk to the chat, right? And you're using like this one NBA pivot that I said one time, and now like I regret it since you're gonna be like such a snowflake about it.
Oh my
And you're
god.
saying
But you're
that
calling me a snowflake. You're the one
excuse like
you've been complaining for the last 5 minutes about a joke. I'm sorry I made a dark joke. I won't make any more, okay? I won't make any more jokes.
look, okay. All I'm saying is the dialogue isn't as good if you're trying to farm omega levels, okay? Now what my point was is that okay, it feels like that you're excusing society when you say, "Oh, Orange Man bad. Oh, the president had like the most influence." Even if I can agree that the president had the most influence, um like even if I agree with that statement, that does not excuse society. Now, what you're doing is you're excusing society and saying like society couldn't have gather up together and societally influence, how we wear masks. You're saying that that couldn't have happened because of the president, and it feels like right now you're excusing society. Do you hold these like same views on like global
So
warming?
now look, I don't believe it's just the president. I believe it's the modern social media landscape, which does not do enough to penalize like the spreading of extremely inflammatory rhetoric and disinformation. I think it is the ease of accessibility of information, while a beautiful thing, also has its downsides as people don't have a lot of filters between them and posting information and stuff. For example, back in the day, if you wanted to get your voice out there, you had to get like a news publicate, you had to do all these different things to get your voice out there. Which today, it means more working class people involved in spreading of information, which is cool. I love working class perspectives. But it also means that if you're some nut job, like say Alex Jones talking about how Sandy Hook was an inside job, it's also a lot easier for you to do such things. And such things do catch wind due to their inflammatory rhetoric and the way that these people perfect their ability in convincing people nonsense positions, say the extreme health risks of mask wearing, or how mask wearing is the first step in government tyranny, to or comparing like masks to like the things that the enslaved people used to wear when they were shipped over on ships, or I don't know, like Kim Iverson saying that the explosion in Lebanon was actually a CIA or Mossad attack. Any number of conspiracy theories, right? And so it's not just Trump. I think the modern media landscape makes conspiracy theories more dangerous than ever. Where if today we saw the Russian government making a modern Elders of Zion type book, which I don't know the complete history on that, so nobody quote me on that, or some conspiracy type like book or publication or something being pushed out there, it has a bigger net to reach out to. It has in the algorithm actually rewards a lot of stuff like that. And so I don't think it's just that. I think that society and our way we consume media has changed to the point which makes this particularly dangerous.
Right, and let me extend you an olive branch. If you were to come out here and not been like Orange Man bad, so society can't do anything, and you would have said like, the broader media has the broader media has a microphone to influence some of these like COVID opinion or like some conspiracy theories, right and left, because there are a lot of communists like, oh, this is not real genocide conspiracy theories. So let me just acknowledge that real quick. But if you were to say like the media is a voice amplifier for bad ideas, we would have had an olive branch of extendment and we would have had agreement. But what I'm disagreeing with is like none of that bars or excuses society from being able to make a change.
I mean, it's cool, but the type of changes that would be necessary to make when it comes to, and I've been reading a lot. Well, I read a
Wait,
decent.
wear a mask. Wait. Wear a mask or go home.
Okay.
That's it. It's not
No,
like
it's
some
not. It's not
huge
that
society.
simple because this thing is extremely politicized. Let me explain. The type of stuff. Number one, I do believe, whether you like it or not, that we would need a figurehead of the state, which would be encouraging mask use. We would also need a different media landscape when it comes to like social media
Like
and how
there's
it.
been many figures.
What?
There's been many figures. There's been many figures like societally encouraging masks.
Well, I
many
mean,
figures
they
have.
meet, yeah, but none as important as the president. The president, that's like one of the main jobs of the president. Like, if I'm completely honest, if there was the president and then I don't know Mariah Carey, who am I going to listen to on health policy? Probably the president. I mean, that's what most Americans would rationally, hopefully do, not Mariah Carey. Because if that's true, then I'm going to get my Jewish history lessons from Ice Cube and I'm not going to have a good time, right? Like, there's a lot of people who are not authorities on topics talking about topics that people should ignore, right? So, I mean, like, the president should be an authority of
Wait,
information when it comes to federal guidelines and what people should be
wait,
doing during a health crisis.
oh. Yeah, I disagree with both of those. I wouldn't listen to Mariah Carey, and I wouldn't listen to Trump. I don't listen to any president. I think the government is honestly like the side of the establishment, and everything that they produce probably has like a political leaning. Not saying that it's impossible to listen to government for some of your opinions, but I'd never go to the government to listen to like my opinions. What I would go to is Mr. Fauci. I would go to the head of the HWO. I would go to these people.
That's
what
also
these
the
people were
government.
saying. That's like when you said government, I was thinking head of government,
Fauci,
Trump,
CDC,
Senate.
that's still government.
Okay, if you're just saying like everything tangentially related to the
But
government,
like the thing is,
government,
most
then
people aren't going to go online to CDC guidelines. They're going to listen to the big statements coming on what you should be on these things. And that's the president's job, to kind of give that information to the American people. Sit in front of the camera and say, this is what you need to do to keep your family safe. Like, that's part of the president's job, is to be a figurehead. It's his two most important jobs when it comes to the president is, number one, to be the commander in chief. That's his first job. Then it's to be a figurehead, a uniting figure who kind of like gives information to the people and gives speeches and stuff like that. Then after that, you can get into the idea of him being a legislator. Like, look at LBJ's like way he operated in the White House to get legislation through in the Civil Rights Act, stuff like that. But those are like the two first things the president needs to be doing. And the figurehead part is pretty important. A lot of people are not going to be doing the digging to get their own studies to see what their opinion is going to be on masks. It's going to be looking towards the government, especially if you're a follower or a supporter of said president. As in a supporter of President Trump, you're going to be even more so listening to what the president has to say. And that's probably part of the reason why there's a divide when it comes to Democrats and Republicans when it comes to wearing masks.
right. And I agree with everything you just said, but we're not going to find any common ground, not in just here, in broader discussions. If you think just because of just because the president, and he does have a microphone, but just because the president has said some stuff, which again, to be clear, for this conversation, I will cede or fiat that like everything Dylan's saying is true, and like Trump was just like this like dude who never believed in the science of maskers. That's a whole different conversation.
Well,
But
no,
for
wait.
this
I
conversation,
never. Let's
we'll
be clear. I
agree that-
never said that. I said that his state.
Okay. Wait, you said he was a vehement anti-masker and like denied the science of masks. Right?
I said he had an inconsistent messaging on masks. One week it's like, yeah, sure, wear a mask or whatever, and the next week it's maybe you should, maybe you shouldn't. I'm not gonna be doing it. It just like that inconsistent
Okay.
messaging.
Okay, but you agree he never denied the science behind the mask, right?
I would have to go back and check. Actually, I don't know.
Okay, but there is no proof that you have right now that he denied the science. of
Denied the
mask,
science
right?
and said masks do not help. I don't have anything on that. I could say he denied the science on a lot of other stuff on
Okay.
COVID, but not
Okay.
that.
Okay, that's fine. So if we agree that he did not deny the science of the mask, which a lot of left-leaning people do agree, so you're gonna get pushed back from that. But as long as we agreed that he did not.
Wait,
deny the
why would I
science
get
of the
pushback?
mask,
I just said I don't have that right now. That doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Like, someone could easily just send me a link in chat and I'm like, oh, never mind. I guess he did.
Right. So if you're saying that sometimes he was a little bit wish-washy on whether he personally was gonna wear the mask.
No,
That's
well,
fine. If
I mean,
you're
wish-washy. He literally said, I'm not going to do it. And then he would do it. And then he wouldn't. Like, it, I mean,
Well, wait, yeah. Again, is your contention that Trump said he was wish-washy about like whether he was gonna wear the mask?
my thing is he's wish-washy on whether Americans should. And he was wish-washy on whether he was going to, and the messaging on it, and he wasn't affirmative, as he should have been out there saying, wear a mask, and his messaging should have been consistent. Because you clearly just criticized all these people for flip-flopping on masks, but like I would like to see that same criticism lobbied at Trump.
But wait, you said he. My personal read on the statement was like, if you ever, and I could be completely wrong. You can like send me statements where he said like Americans should not wear masks. But my personal thing was, I always thought he was saying like he personally wasn't going to wear a mask, and I thought
He
that
did
was
say
the
that
issue,
too.
not
He
like
said, "I don't think I'm
he.
going to be doing it."
Yeah, but I never heard him like say something about like the American society on like whether the society should or should not wear masks.
Well, one second. Let me see. I have a bunch of quotes here.
Yeah,
Da-da-da-da-da.
see, my problem is like the
Maybe
left,
they're
or
great. Maybe
and
they're
this is
just good. Maybe they're not so good. Like that messaging right there is so
that's
unbelievably
literally
like wish-wash, like
look,
nothing.
that's literally nothing.
Yeah,
Well, wait,
that's the
that's literally
problem.
nothing.
That's
Maybe
the problem.
again, wait. Before we acknowledge the problem, can we acknowledge what he said? Like, I'm just trying to. You can say if your position is he should have been harder on like people wearing masks. Okay, we can deal with that later. I just want to, for the record, be clear. Did he deny masks? Was he indifferent to masks? Was he saying masks were uncomfortable? What did he say?
He was basically saying, "What's your opinion on masks?" Eh.
Okay. If that's your overall read on his rhetoric, I do agree. He was like kind of on whether he was personally going to wear a
And
mask.
while
Okay,
also,
fine.
of course, spreading disinformation about COVID. Period.
Uh, we're having this conversation about masks.
Well,
And
okay,
I
we don't want to go
can't
there
fact check
because
you.
I know, whatever.
Well, again, I don't want to pivot to a different topic.
Well,
I
it's
just
not a
want to
different topic. I
stay
mean, like
on.
if, like for example, if I'm telling people like 99% of these cases are like fine or whatever, and it's gonna go away in the summer, and then people ask me about masks, and I say, like as an American viewing that from the outside, sounds like everything's fine. Sounds like it's not really a crisis is coming, you know?
Again, I would just focus on masks.
Okay.
Again, so specifically on mask, if you're saying, he said that's actually, better for my position because I thought you were way stronger because people just spread like blatant misinformation on what Trump said about masks. But if you're saying like he said then I kind of agree with you on that one. But so what I'm gonna say is we're not actually going to reach a consensus in like any debate, and like we just have a fundamental disagreement if you think Trump saying, and like, media platforming some conspiracy theories in any way bars or excuses society from trying to influence mass. And if you think that, then like we don't have any common ground.
Of course, other people should be like wear masks. What I'm saying is that I think his
Okay. Whoa. Okay. So that's literally my solution. You cannot these two
yeah, but I don't think it's enough. I don't think it's enough. I think your solution's milk warm nothing. That means 600,000 dead Americans.
Well, it's not milk warm. Okay,
But
this is
that's
the
what we did,
biggest
and it
straw
failed.
man. This is the biggest straw man that I've seen yet
I just
today.
said your solution is
I
lukewarm nothing.
consistently-
I didn't say
No, I didn't. That's what you said.
that's yes.
Okay,
I said your solution's
specifically,
nothing.
okay, this is the biggest- yeah, okay, this is the biggest straw man that I've seen today. I hope someone
Wow.
can, I hope your viewers have more reason because I've specifically advocated for multiple solutions today. Do you want me to represent those solutions?
I don't care anymore. Sure, whatever. Say whatever the fuck you want.
Right. My solutions were going to be societally influenced masks, right? More institutions to set up masks. Actually, one of the solutions I like mostly platform, and I think I might have said this on your channel, maybe not some other big streamers channel, make masks free. Masks should not have a price tag. I go to the dollar store or I go to like Quick Trip and masks are like $15. Masks should have been free. Masks should be societally influenced, and people who weren't comfortable with masks should have gone home. These are solutions. These aren't lukewarm nothing. And again, we can go to the Vietnam War example. We're saying pushing for societal influence change is not lukewarm nothing and can actually admit to actually to actual policies. Do you deny any of this?
What do you
Or
mean
will
deny what? Deny that that's your position? What does that even mean?
Well, wait, either you accept what I said, which is societal influence is important and can lead to actual change, or you take back your last statement that was I advocate for nothing, because that was a horrible straw man of my position.
You're okay. You know what? You do advocate for nothing. I mean, next to nothing, actually. Next to nothing. That's a better position.
Well, okay.
No, I mean, it is. I'm sorry. The thing is,
you're unreasonable.
I'm sorry,
Like,
but
okay,
we're not. It's not gonna
you know,
work. It wasn't gonna work.
Honestly, look. Honestly, I think this is a little bit tainted by the fact that you think like I'm some like a far right conservative conspiracy theorist. I don't know if our past conversations have like tainted you anything. I really do believe that if I was like left leaning or like one of your friends, that you'd be more willing to
You're not
like, accept
even
my
listening.
position.
Oh my God, you don't want to listen. Okay, you have a good day, man. You have a good day.
Look, look. I actually do want to. So yeah, just on. Can I at least make my final statement because I feel like you misrepresented me a lot.
No, goodbye. I'm sorry. Look, dude, this conversation's dead to me. I'm sorry. This was the least productive conversation I've ever had. Holy shit, I should have quit streaming.
This is definitely what you see from the left. This is definitely what you see from the left. Okay, yeah, this is like constant strawmans, constant pivots, constant like suicide jokes, constant
constant suicide jokes. That's what the left is known for.
The constant, yes. Who even the drink bleach stuff that was populated by the left, and this is what happens when I actually
the drink bleach stuff was the left. What does that even mean?
Yeah, no. Yeah. Okay. Especially, just spend 5 minutes on Discord and try to be in my position where you're a little bit right-leaning and you try to espouse a view. They're going to hit you with a suicide joke in like 0.2 seconds.
Hit you with a suicide joke. Oh my God, look, man. I'm sorry. You're so offended. I'm sorry, man. I'll never make a mean joke or offensive joke around you again. It's weird because you supported the dude who was like banned Muslims from the United States or whatever. But man, my edgy joke was just too much. Was too much.
So many false statements.
You didn't support Trump? You were a Biden supporter? You would have voted for Biden in the 2020 election?
Wait, how old do you think I am?
I'm asking whether or not you would have supported Trump or Biden, okay? You don't need to vote to be a supporter.
Wait, I didn't vote for any of them.
I understand that. You're not listening. Okay, goodbye. I'm done. I'm sorry. I can't do it. I can't. I am so unbelievably, I can't do this. Oh my God. My God. I can't do it. I've snapped. Nope, not doing it anymore. I'm not doing it anymore. I can't. I just can't.
It's time for the true collaboration.
The true
collaboration everyone's been waiting for.
What's that? Oh my God.
Dylan and the chicken.
Look at him. Look at him. Such a cutie. Boop.
Do you want to contribute anything? You have something to say, chicken?
What's your position on mask mandates?
What'd you think about mask, chicken?
Oh.